But I got the camera pointing at my skull, so my really shiny skull that really reflects a lot of light, so I apologize for any temporary blindness.
Adjust the light balance on the camera.
Yeah. Alright, it's go time.
Is it go time?
It is go time. Wow, okay, I was not kind of surprised what's going on, but cool. Thank you for being here. Obviously there's a lot of people interested in the topic. My name is Walter Schultz, and I'm going to let this guy do some talking.
Oh, sweet, I get to talk to. Hi, everybody, my name is DJ Carroll. I'm going to be the host and MC for panels here. And, well, already said, hey, introduce myself. We're here to talk about red flags and fandom. Our biggest thing here is just being able to answer any questions people have. Great presentation. He's going to run through all these points for you guys. He's going to talk about them. But, again, if you have any questions that you don't want to shout out loud for everybody, well, he's here all weekend. He's got his booth. He'll be right here. You can chat with him. If you have anything you need to bring up, just let me know. If not, I'm turning everything over to you, and your time starts now.
Anyway, thanks. Thank you for coming. Wow, it's the first time I'm actually doing a panel. My name is Walter Schultz. A lot of people know me in the community as Sid. I have been doing this stuff for almost 30 years. July will be my 30th year doing this stuff. There's nothing like the convention community. It's welcoming and very, you talk about the sense of community, it's there. So when I talk about 30 years of life experiences, things I've enjoyed, it's absolutely wonderful. Unfortunately, along the way, we've come across some issues that keep on having repeated incidents. And there's nothing we can do to stop things that happen other than trying to be aware of them. So we call them red flags. Things that make you go, that might not be correct. So we got 8 topics we're going to cover, but I'm going to start off by talking about 4 situations here. I'm going to ask people which story is true. First story, a convention claimed it needed money to cover essential services. They needed cash money to pay to make the show happen, and they even did an online fundraiser. But it turns out that public funding covered that every year. The convention was asking their own volunteers to pay cash for something for an emergency that never existed. A convention attendee, second story, the convention attendee intentionally impersonated officials and wearing ID and identification markers and a uniform matching official convention staff and interfered with a medical emergency. Hey, hello, come on in. The third story, a convention stole intellectual property and falsely claimed to be sponsored by them. And on top of that, they sponsored, my apologies, they claimed to be sponsored, but they also promoted the sale of products that were stealing intellectual property. Fourth story, convention security provided constant protection for a celebrity due to a problem with the celeb's representative. The problem? The celeb didn't have a representative. This representative was stalking the celebrity from city to city, country to country. 4 different stories there. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Which ones do you think are true? 3? You think 3 is true?
Feels like it's an auction. We got 1, 3. Everybody pick a 1. Anybody pick 1. Anybody picking 2. Anybody picking 2. Anybody picking 2? Pick 4. Pick 4. I pick 4. I pick 4.
Oh. You're gonna go for broke. I know who you are.
He's pushed all the chips on the table have come in.
Okay, so someone's saying all, someone's saying 3. It's okay to get the answer wrong. That's how we do things. You think 1? You think 1's true? What if I told you that gentleman said all 4 are correct, was accurate?
No way.
Wait, I was on the security detail for that celebrity. I did not sleep that weekend. I was the person responding to a medical emergency, and the fake security, or the person with fake credentials got in the way and interfered with having to deal with someone who was injured. So I'm watching your faces and reactions, because this stuff actually happens in our community. It's stuff to watch out for. And the big one I got in big bold letters here is deception. Let's face it. I gotta close this door. Move for the red flags panel? Long story story short, we all lie. We're humans, we've done it. The difference is when we do it, we feel bad about it, we try not to do it. That's a reality. The big problem with deception is how it's repetitive. You'll see a pattern. People and organizations doing it again and again and again, even though they know they shouldn't be doing that. And on top of it, how organizations and people react. What ends up happening when people react, and I have to go grab my notes here, I apologize. Just to make sure I cover the basics. Only a dry erase markers, I don't need them. Okay. But the issue, really, is some people say, oh, I make mistakes, I'm not perfect. I'm not expecting anyone to be perfect, we all make mistakes. The issue we try to go on is we try to learn from our mistakes, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. That's not a mistake, is it? That's a pattern. That's intentional. You'll see some of that happening in our community. And I got a perfect example of that. A few years ago, a convention advertised some really big name stars, and a friend of mine messaged me, says, hey, are you interested in this? I go, well, that looks kind of neat. I messaged my other friend, and within 2 minutes, my friend says, I don't think that convention's going to happen. I go, why do you say that? Look at the address they're advertising. That location, that venue no longer exists. They were selling tickets for a show for a location that had changed ownership and name. And I don't know about you, but if I was going to attend a show, if I was going to invite people to come to something, I'd probably try to make sure people have the right information to go to the right place. So me doing this really wacky thing, I go, why don't I contact the venue? Why don't I contact the venue directly and say, what's going on here? I contact the venue. Any guesses as to what the venue told me? Anyone? What did the venue say?
They laughed at you.
They laughed at me? Didn't laugh at me. They did laugh at the situation. That's a good catch. Anyone else? By the way, him and I have talked a few times before, so you're not going to win a prize today, I'm sorry. Really close. The venue said that the convention had been canceled a month prior. So 2 months prior, this convention was selling tickets, knowing that the show was canceled. And it was caught by a red flag of information that didn't match reality. No legitimate operation will fall by calling somebody and saying, hey, is this really going on? No legitimate operation will be taken down by one email. No legitimate operation can be taken down with one social media post. And then what ends up happening is more and more people start speaking out, and then I go, okay, I'm gonna get the word out, warn people. And despite my best efforts, people came in from out of town, wandered aimlessly at this venue, and found out that they lost their money and time to a promoter for promoting a show that would never exist. That is a huge red flag when they don't have accurate information. Go ahead and ask. Ask for a yes or no answer. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm curious about this. Oh, thanks for verifying. Great. It's, the issue was, not only was it repeating because the person knew that the show was canceled, the organizers were intentionally telling people, oh, it's not canceled, even though they knew. So we talk about the repetitive nature of deception. That's a great example of what happened. And unfortunately, some people paid money to go for a show that would never happen. If you know anyone who had that experience, please ask them to do online reporting for their local police for online fraud reporting. That would be something the cops would look after. I'm going to skip through some stuff. We can talk later on about this. But again, the questionable activities, when things don't match up, you ask a yes or no question and you can't get an answer, a lot of people react. They don't like being questioned because it brings up the clues that maybe things aren't on the up and up. Ask those questions. There's nothing wrong in asking a question. It's just if something especially is yes or no. Unfortunately, locally, we've had 2 incidents with two separate organizations doing some very questionable things, and that I'm taken down by somebody asking one question. Threats and manipulation. Show of hands, please. experienced this personally or knew about this happening, where somebody said something online and then someone would say, oh, you better take that down or my lawyer is going to go after you? Who's had that experience? You've had that experience? You've had that experience? You know what, we've talked before, it's okay.
No, we're friends.
I think people watch too many American law shows. It's like,
thank you.
And they're like, we'll sue you. We're going to sue you. We're going to sue you.
That happens so often.
Yes.
It's complete and total malarkey. Canada has what's called very strong anti-SAP laws. SAP is a term. SLAP means strategic lawsuit against public participation. Canada's got very strong laws against that for helping to welcome free speech. If you have a screenshot or a receipt or a quote from somebody, sharing that isn't harassment. Sharing that isn't libel or defamation. It's exactly what happened, and it's open to fair comment. Unfortunately, people that use threats and manipulation try to stop that conversation from happening. As I was preparing this presentation, we may have heard about an English book writer, very famous book author for a very famous franchise, threatening to sue people for people speaking out and quoting that person. Fortunately, in Canada, that kind of conversation is protected by free speech. Especially in Ontario, we have what's called libel laws. It's a 6-week notice, term notice from actual legal professionals, not some person typing some random crap on Facebook. It becomes a legitimate discussion. It becomes a legitimate service from legitimate, real lawyers, not these imaginary ones that people were being used as threats. Any organization that resorts to threats to sustain themselves, and there's been quite a few over the last 30 years and some very recently, that's a big red flag. Personal attacks. Start giving out some prizes here. I want to see how many other cool kids are out here who took Latin in high school. First person with their hand up, please. What is the Latin term for attack the arguer? Do it.
Ad hominem.
Grab a goodie. Ad hominem, ad hominem. Here you go, grab something.
Congratulations, your Latin class paid off.
There's a Latin one. What do you want? You want that? There you go. Awesome. Thank you. Ad hominem. Ad hominem. I can't pronounce it, but the idea is attack the arguer. It's usually done when there's a complete lack of integrity or anything of substance to, I guess, say, back up an argument. Unfortunately, we're seeing more and more of that. The presidential election in 2016 and onwards, American culture unfortunately bleeds its way. Some of the worst of it kind of bleeds its way north. You've seen a lot more hostility. You've seen a lot more personal attacks. People shutting people down instead of actually having a conversation worth merit. And we'll find that one here. Right. Lack of credibility. If you're lacking in credibility, all of a sudden you're just going to attack the person talking about it. We've seen it happen. We've seen it happen locally. We've seen that happen all over and at different events where someone decides to speak up, oh, you're such and such, instead of actually addressing the core issue. Any type of deflection like that, watch out for that. Questionable social media content. Show of hands, please. Anyone here gone online and seen something that like, why would they post that? Why would they post that? Okay, I got some hands up here.
Every day.
Every day. Now, we're all different people, and thank goodness for that. But there are certain lines you just don't cross. I changed my mood here. I'm also going to grab a bit of water, give it a swish just in case hydrogen and oxygen don't combine. My mom passed away November 2021. And I was prepared for it. Unfortunately, because of COVID restrictions, and I do believe in health, I do believe in public safety. If I was closer to people, I'd be wearing a mask. I'm keeping my distance from people, except for you. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'll stay further away. But I do believe in science. Unfortunately, there are people that don't believe in science. In practice, it becomes another issue. When my mom was passing away, she couldn't have visitors, including her only son, her only family member that was available to come and visit her. And but I respected the reason why the hospital would restrict visitors. I understand. It was a necessary thing to do. I respect public health initiatives. A convention organizer on the official account called people who were following public health guidelines lockdown cheerleaders. Why would you say that? Language gives you away. When people go ahead and say what's really on their mind, they're really saying what's on their mind. If they're not respecting your boundaries, not respecting public health, I have questions about how they're going to run their operation. Questionable social media content. You don't go around denigrating people's commitment to public health safety, right? Why would you say that? So I made the choice of making sure my money never goes to that person ever again. Simple as that. You had a question. You had your hand up twice now, and I kind of ignored you the first time. We'll do a Q&A later on, unless you really want to share that section. Keep that on your mind for the questionable social media content. I'll pick your brain on that. Make sure you get my attention, please. Spec work for exposure. Yeah. I really am cutting this presentation really short, getting over the points. If anything I say, please take a picture of this and then take a look at what happens and go, you know what? I'm seeing something from those 8 points. But spec work and for exposure, spec work is doing something on spec, saying, okay, I'll go ahead and do this with the understanding of a reasonable accommodation or a reasonable compensation afterwards. Unfortunately, it doesn't go very well a number of times. Okay, there was you already won, so I'm going to ask you to, hold your hand for the next one. Yeah, I was going to say, if you already won something, I'll let you win again, but I want somebody else to get a chance. I think it's fair, right? Thank you. So, first hand up, please. Anyone here remember a failed music festival that became the subject of 2 documentaries? Okay, you know what? You can answer afterwards. We talked about this. Okay, yes?
The Fire Festival.
Awesome, yes, Firefest. Tell you what, I'll go like this and go ahead and grab a goodie. I'm trying to keep distance from people, I appreciate that. Yes, Firefest. Wow. Dropping stuff. Forgot all about that, we'll tell you all that later. Yeah, Firefest was a doomed festival in the Bahamas that was founded on lies and deception and fraud. And unfortunately, it took the best intentions of the best people and ended up with really badly. Now, fortunately, there was a restaurant owner who pointed up her own cash, her own resources to pay her workers, but she ended up losing a whole lot of money. Now, fortunately, there was a GoFundMe, and people got her money back and then some. But she did it on spec with a promise of getting rewards. Unfortunately, that also happens at conventions. People will say, hey, I'll give you this. If you just do this for me. Oh, I'll do this in return. The return doesn't happen. Get something in paper. Get something, get an understanding or a down payment. I know of somebody who does amazing metal work. This guy's a master blacksmith. And somebody I know said, hey, I want you to make me a Dr. Doom, or is it Dr. Doom? Is that the character from Fantastic Four?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. He wanted to get the guy to make him on spec a Dr. Doom helmet. And the blacksmith said, you know what, I'll do it for you, but I need you to help me with cost of materials. Well, I'm not going to do that. Well, the guy got smart and avoided somebody who wouldn't pay him anyway. I knew for a fact he wouldn't pay him. So if you're an artist, or if you're producing something, know your worth. Volunteering is great. I'm a volunteer myself. But there's another thing to give yourself away. Get something in down payment to make sure, because there are organizers and there are people, there are fan groups that will take advantage of people.
And Walter, I think that's a really good point about the exposure, because that's a big thing right now in the arts industry. That's my background, performing arts, and the number of times people ask, oh, will you do this for exposure? And I'm like, I've been doing this for 30 years. I don't need exposure anymore. But the number of people, if you're an artist, you're worth something. So don't just give away your work.
I got to experience this in 2 separate incidents. I was at a convention in 2009, and the executive of a major production company, a major company, this company has money coming out of the demon hole, saw my work, contacted me and said, hey, can you be at our event on a weekday during the summer? Yeah, let's talk about it. You want me? Because it was downtown Toronto, so we all know how wonderful it is to drive from Kitchener to Toronto for free on my own dime. Oh, you're covered parking? No. And how much are you going to pay me? What was the number? Guess what the number that they're going to pay me? Exposure. Exposure. They wanted me to wear a very heavy costume, walk around, and with no protection, people just grabbing me, interacting in ways I wouldn't be comfortable with, have to drive a total of 5 hours on my own, my own resources. And next thing you know, you want me to do that, I go, and they didn't want to pay me. I was very diplomatic in my way of saying no. I'm very proud of how diplomatic I was. I use sign language.
Use all language.
And I wasn't number one. So like I said, volunteering is great, but don't give yourself away. Know what you're worth. Because I'm seeing a lot of great talent out there. It's art. Cosplay is art. Cosplay is fun. But also know that if someone's approaching you to do something, they can pony up the cash or pony up something in fair compensation for what your ability to do, what you're able to do. What time is it? Oh, I'm good. Okay. Yeah. So I want to tell another story. This happened in 2021. A convention ran a contest, and the prize, if you win, was to be used in a product we're going to make. I'm seeing some people going, what? I go, yes, that happened. 24 hours later, they pulled it. To their credit, I think they smartened up. 2021 was supposed to be an online convention. Somehow, they missed out on another aspect. They missed out on oversight. Groupthink is a term for a bunch of people doing something without realizing the full ramifications, the full effect, the full consequences, and the full responsibility of what they're doing. Just tunnel vision, all together, doing the same thing, a whole bunch of us doing the same thing, we must be right. No. So that organization that had that contest to be used as something they're going to product we're going to make, it didn't work very well. They flew in. Okay, so to their credit, they got wise, and to their credit, they're doing another costume contest with legitimate prizes. So I say thank you for learning from your mistake. It wasn't a repeat. These top 4 here, much more intense in the regards of how bad those really are. Being for exposure and treating people like that, they learned. So everyone's allowed to learn from their mistakes. They're encouraged to learn from their mistakes. Unfortunately, a lack of oversight can have very devastating consequences. In 2008, there was a convention in the Toronto area. That's not working right. How's that? There was a convention in the Toronto area that had a core group of people take over a certain aspect of that convention, which brought in a lot of money for the convention. Unfortunately, what they were doing was completely illegal. Not only were what they were doing illegal, they were getting their volunteers to commit those illegal acts. To the credit of the organization, they finally cleaned up, and it's a good thing too. Because in early January, the convention chairperson posted on their website admitting that they were doing these illegal acts. That is what you call a complete and total lack of oversight. If you're in charge of an organization, you don't go around admitting to committing illegal acts. Fortunately, things got turned around. That chairperson was gone 3 days before the convention. Whether that person was fired or quit, or yes, but losing a chairperson 3 days before a convention was pretty intense. Within about a year, that core group of people were all fired. It takes a lot to fire people from a convention. You have to do some really bad things to get fired. These people did, and to the credit of that convention, they turned things around. But it had deception. They were lying to the people attending. They were endangering the people attending. They were lying to the volunteers. and they're lying to themselves. Self-deception creates self-destruction. Fortunately, the convention was able to recover, and it's still ongoing today, and I salute their efforts to make sure they keep things on the up. But if you got people just answering their own questions, saying that, oh, we're fine, and you ask a question that doesn't get a yes or no, problem. And the last one I want to talk about is boundaries. It's big, bold, black letters. And yeah, there is a message that gets shared, and I want to share it again. Unfortunately, it keeps repeating. Cosplay is not consent. Cosplay is not consent. Just because we look cool, we're dressing up and acting out, we're having fun with our friends, that's fantastic. It can be as innocuous as coming up to grabbing someone and saying, hey, I want to get a picture with you. There are people that don't equate that things you wouldn't be doing out on a sidewalk are the things you shouldn't even be doing at a convention. Unfortunately, there are people that don't make that equation. Unfortunately, again, I'm talking from 30 years experience here. It'll be 30 years this July. Since my very first convention and getting involved in the safety, a lot of safety protocols and safety initiatives at conventions. I feel like I'm home.
Yeah.
Anyway,
All those children running.
it's all good. But proportionally, it does happen. Not very often, but when it does happen, it's something you gotta watch out for. That people just don't understand boundaries. Boundaries aren't just a line on a map. I want to say something here too, that we all have the right to the safety and security of our own person. You have the right to say to somebody, no, please stop touching me. I need you to keep your distance, please. That is totally cool and encouraged. Boundaries and keeping things the way at your comfort level is absolutely acceptable. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Everyone who here does not have a cell phone? Okay. You see a situation, I'm not saying just jump in. Your personal safety is number one. But don't be afraid to grab your phone and go, hey, you just told this guy, you just told this person leave me alone. Are you okay? I can call 911 right now. Be the change. If you see something that doesn't seem right, it's something everybody can do to increase safety at conventions. And unfortunately, it does happen. I've been the first responder to assault and then some. Having to immediately get off the radio, get on to our liaison to law enforcement and getting the heavy duty people in and taking care of business. Unfortunately, I do say it a lot, there are people that do treat conventions as a hunting ground. There are those people that are, as you say, look at other people at these conventions as targets. In 2018, there was a professional theft crew, professional distraction theft crew that was targeting vendors. One vendor lost all of her sales. And this vendor has lots of experience at conventions. Anyone and everyone can be a target. That was 2018. We haven't seen this operation happening again. People have been made aware, but I'm seeing from people's reactions that aren't really, oh yeah, it happened. It happened at Con Bravo, happened at Anime North, it happened at one other convention. I'm trying to remember the name of, but still, I've got the accounts of what happened there. And another thing about boundaries is that organizations that know what they're doing will respect and have a non-harassment policy, or at least encourage the discussion of one. In 2019, a volunteer walked out of the convention because the person in charge was saying, to the extent of, oh, they're out to get us, don't worry about anyone saying anything about harassment. If someone comes up to you, tell us, we'll deal with it. Versus, no, if someone's coming up with a problem, you go get somebody who can actually deal with it. You don't suppress it. Some people are probably nodding their heads, probably familiar with the situation. I'm not going any further, but believe people when they come to you and they say, hey, there's an issue. Don't be afraid to dial 911. Suppressing problems doesn't make the problem go away. You know, I've tried to change this presentation because I'm trying to make it so it covers people who attend conventions, who volunteer, who Ven, who are exhibitors, who are fan groups, have tried to blend the concept, but just to say that I'm not trying to doom and gloom. There's a reason why I've been doing this for 30 years, and I hope to do it for another 30 years at least. It's an amazing community. It's an amazing experience. My very first time going to a convention, I got thrown on the security detail for Major Barrett Roddenberry. So that's really cool for a teenager getting thrown into a security do a detail like that. I just watched her on TV 3 weeks ago. I'm like, don't let me scare you, but I do want to make you aware that these things are happening. You keep dropping stuff. These things have happened, and with more awareness, we can do our part to create the community that we want to be a part of. I want to thank you for being here. Thanks for putting up with me. And thank you so much for being a part of an awesome opportunity here. Thank you.
Cool. All right, thank you. If a couple ways we can do this. If you have a question, you want to like shout it out loud and share with everybody, then Walter will do his best to answer. If you feel like, yeah, I just want to chat with them after the talk, whatever, that's great too. Because we do realize that there's other things happening, other things going. So we got one question right here. So just if you want to shout it out nice and loud.
Why for situation number 2? Why was the person impersonating security?
That's a very good question. We haven't been able to answer that. That happened mid-July 2000 at the Regal Constellation Hotel on Dixon Road, which no longer exists. It's close to where Anime North is run now. And there's another mystery that I kept out of it. Somehow, this individual had found out what our security uniform was going to look like that year. Our security uniforms were custom made by a shirt company. Year by year, one shirt is worn each year, and then we never wear them again, or not officially at least. Somehow, this individual found out exactly what our shirts were going to look like, and had his printed off to look exactly, except for one word, to look like our uniform. We wore a scanner to intercept our radio channels, and was walking around with official looking ID, except for words changed. So it was really creepy. It was really disturbing. We had some words with him. We definitely removed him from the situation, and we told him under no uncertain terms that you're not allowed to dress like that. I don't know why he wasn't even removed from the convention, because that seems like impersonation with intent. You don't go around, because I wouldn't go to, are you trying to tell me something? No. Oh. I would never go to Best Buy pretending to be an employee. Why would you go to a convention and impersonate somebody of a security official? That's creepy as heck. Now, I was gonna, go ahead.
What reasons do you think someone would do that?
Well, people don't know what I do for a living. I have a background in investigations, primarily in business continuity and risk mitigation, risk assessment, risk management. And as an investigator, you're trained to leave the whys to the whys. We can only guess what this person's motivations were, but the fact that when I was involved in the situation as a first responder for first aid, we're in a dance hall where it's loud and noisy and people crowded around, and the person that was injured was heavily intoxicated and with a broken ankle. So it kind of makes communication all that more essential. And this person looks at me and nods as if he thinks he's actually on our team. I'm hesitant to make guesses, but let's face it, there are people that do really strange things in this world that defy logic, and it's always going to be a mystery to me as well. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot. You got to think about questionable social media or something else. Go for it.
Yeah, so I had like a couple of things in my questionable social media content is posted every day. It's amazing. Anyway, yeah, the thing that I was thinking about was actually not about conventions. It was, part of the speedrunning community. There was this one really popular speedrunner, and
I'm sorry,
speedrunning, like
speedrunning, like going through a game really fast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that one person, really popular YouTube channel, really popular speedrunner. They were caught faking some of their speedruns, how it is, and they just like started blaming they basically posted like a YouTube video where they were like blaming everyone except themselves.
Of course.
That's you know, yeah, basically, and they had nothing to back their side up, and you know, you watch the video and maybe they were like trying to appease their fans or something, but like as someone who's not in that particular community, I saw the video and I was like, okay, none of this makes sense. You're just making things worse for yourself. And, yeah.
Unfortunately, that's, you raise a great point. Unfortunately, there are people that live in their own echo chambers. I will be the first person to admit that I have made a lot of mistakes. The difference is I try to learn from them. That's an important part. That's part of being human, to fail forward. That's what training is failing forward. And unfortunately, there are people that live in the world of deception. You try to ask them a simple question, as a yes or no. Honest people will give you a yes or no answer. And my problem is I will give you a yes or no answer with a 5-page article description of how I got that answer. Then there are people that will not answer that question at all and end up doing whatever they can to deflect it, avoid, obstruct, or otherwise deception. Deception is also silence. That incident that took place just before COVID, the summer before COVID, the event that was never going to happen, it's almost like the 5 stages of grief: denial, acceptance, and anger, all that kind of stuff. You almost see a pattern in that with deception as well. I can bring in university experts who talk about deception, and people that are on the DSM-5 and all these other things. We're not going to go there, but what I find interesting are the patterns of reactions to deception. So what you described was very similar to people coming to the end game, and the end game is silence. This organization that took money, that was selling tickets for a show they knew wasn't going to happen, they were argumentative with people who knew the truth, and they eventually went silent to the point of deleting their social media and deleting their website and just trying to hide. Most people who go engage in deception get the end game of silence, but a lot of them use a lot of this to get there. It's a long road to get to that eventual silence. So it may not be exactly, but it's a fandom. It is a fandom when it comes to speedrunning. I mean, I'm familiar with the speedrunning of playing Ace Combat. I love the Ace Combat video game series. Like, oh, I have to go for the main target, okay, done. Boom, 3 minutes. I'm still in 13. What's going on here? That's cool. I learned how to play a game differently. Great. But there are people that will get gratification in boasting. We've all met them. We've all met people who say they're better than they really are, and more talented than they really are. But really, a lot of it is self-deception. And like I said earlier, self-deception creates self-destruction.
Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap things up right now. But if you have any questions still, Sid's going to be here for a few more minutes, and then he's upstairs on the second floor. Bright orange vest. You can chat with him and go into detail with anything else.
Yep.
But thank you very much for coming to our talk on red flags and fandom.
Thank you. Cool. I didn't ask as many questions as I wanted to about these things. What's up?
First of all, do you mind me talking to you without a mask?
I'm fine. We'll just keep a little distance from us. That's fine. I was trying to keep my distance from people, but that's cool. Yeah. Let me just do some quick thing. What's up?
What is this?
What is it? The pouch. Put your phone in.
Oh, okay.
And you can do it, like you can wrap it up and attach it. It's designed like the military vest to put ammo, but you can also wear it on your belt and have an extra pocket for stuff. Or you can put your cell phone in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me go turn off my camera.
That's
Hey guys.
Hello.
How was that? Was that painful?